Let me ask you something uncomfortable right out of the gate. Why is it that you can work for decades, wake before sunrise, stay late, do everything you were told to do, and still lie awake at night, worried about the next bill, while someone else, often quieter, often less stressed, seems to move through life differently? They don't chase money. It reports to them. That contrast is not luck. It is not intelligence. It is not even talent. It's structure. From your first day, you were handed the same script. Study hard, get a respectable job, earn a steady paycheck, be grateful, and don't ask too many questions. It sounds safe, but here's the truth no one told you. A paycheck can feed you, but it can never free you. Income keeps you alive. Assets set you free. 5 centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli warned that whoever depends on others for survival can never be truly free. Dependence is weakness. Independence is power. The rich understand this so deeply that they never ask how much they earned this month. They ask what they built. In this video, I'll give you 10 money rules the rich live by. Stay with me because 2 of them will change how you see money forever. 1 reveals why you can earn more every year and still lose a large part of it without ever noticing. Another reviews why the rich are never afraid of debt or taxes. If you're ready to stop serving money and start commanding it, type 1 word in the comments: own. Not for me, for you, as a promise to yourself. And stay subscribed because each rule builds on the last, and the most powerful ones are still ahead. You have not come this far just to survive. You came to be free. Let's begin. Every fortune starts in the same place. The first rule the rich live by is this: stop working just for money and start building assets. For years, I misunderstood this completely. I believed hard work itself was the goal. Earlier mornings, later nights, extra hours, extra effort. And every time my income went up, I felt like I was winning. But something strange kept happening. Every raise was swallowed by a new expense, a bigger apartment, a nicer car, better restaurants. I was earning more and somehow still living from one paycheck to the next. I was running faster, but the scenery never changed. Then a mentor said something that cut through all the noise. Income feeds you, assets free you. That single sentence exposed the real problem. It was never about how much I earned. It was about what my money was doing when I wasn't working. Think of it like this. Imagine you are a farmer, and at the end of every month, you receive a bag of seeds. That bag is your paycheck. You have 2 choices. You can eat all the seeds and survive this season, or you can plant some of them so you don't starve in the next one. Most people eat everything. They tell themselves they'll start planting once they earn a little more. That day rarely comes because spending grows faster than discipline. And this isn't just a nice story. The Federal Reserve found that 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. That is not poverty. That is an entire nation eating its seeds and praying the next bag arrives on time. Machiavelli understood this danger centuries ago. He warned that a ruler who relies on mercenaries will never be secure. Income is a mercenary. It only shows up when you show up. Assets are loyal soldiers. They work while you rest. They defend you when a crisis hits. They stay long after your energy fades. So here's the question that changes everything. If you stopped working today, how long could you survive? I once asked someone who looked wealthy by every visible standard: luxury car, expensive clothes, high salary. They went completely silent. They were rich in income, but poor in assets. Then I met a school teacher who earned far less, yet quietly invested a piece of every paycheck into dividend stocks, a small rental room, and a simple online business. Over time, those assets began paying her bills for her. She didn't look rich, but she slept like someone who was free. That is the difference between looking wealthy and being free. A high income with no assets is just a prettier kind of dependence. So from today, give every dollar a job. It must either feed you now or free you later. Before you spend, pause and ask, is this seed going to die in my mouth or grow into something that pays me back? Because if you don't make money your servant, it will quietly make you its prisoner. And that is exactly where the next rule begins. If the first rule taught you that assets create freedom, the second rule answers a harder question. Why do so many people understand this, yet never act on it? The answer is uncomfortable. Knowledge is cheap. Discipline is rare. And that is exactly where the rich quietly separate themselves with rule 2. Pay yourself first. Most people pay everyone else first. Rent, bills, entertainment, lifestyle. And then they save whatever happens to be left, which is usually nothing. The rich reverse the order completely. They pay their future first and force the present to adjust around it. Here is what nobody tells you. Wealth doesn't begin with money. It begins with identity. I once told a young professional to set aside a small piece of every paycheck, even if it felt tiny. They laughed and said, saving $5 or $10 would never change anything. Years later, their income had doubled, but their savings were still zero. They said the same words, just with bigger numbers. I'm not ready yet. That is the trap. If you don't learn to plant seeds when you have little, you will never plant them when you have more. Your circumstances do not change your habits. Your habits change your circumstances. So don't wait for motivation. Build a system instead. And here's a simple one you can start today. First, choose a percentage. Start small, even 2%, because the habit matters far more than the amount. Second, automate it. Move that money the moment you get paid into a separate account you don't touch. Don't trust your willpower. Trust the system. Third, label that money in your mind. It is not savings. It is not leftovers. It is freedom. Think of it like exercise. You don't wait until you're fit to start working out. You work out to become fit. Money works the same way. You don't wait for discipline to start saving. You save to build discipline. Remember this, consistency beats intensity every single time, because money that is not given a mission will always be handed a distraction. Each small unplanned choice feels harmless on its own. Together, they quietly steal years of your freedom. So ask yourself one honest question today. Are you paying everyone else first and hoping something is left for you? Or are you paying your future first and letting the world take whatever remains? Because if you don't pay yourself first, you are working for everyone except yourself. And once you commit to planting seeds, a deeper question appears. Where exactly should those seeds go? That is what the next rule reveals. Paying yourself first is powerful, but if you don't know where that money should go, you can still end up broke, only slower. That is why the third rule matters so much. Design your money into 3 buckets: safety, growth, and self-investment. Saving without direction is like scattering seeds on random soil. Some ground is fertile, some is dry, and some will never grow a harvest no matter how long you wait. The rich don't scatter, they allocate. The first bucket is safety. This is your foundation, built to protect you, not to impress anyone. Think emergency reserves, index funds, blue chip dividend stocks, stable real estate. These assets grow slowly and quietly like roots beneath a tree. They will never make you rich overnight, but they make sure you never money rules collapse overnight either. Because freedom is impossible without stability. A house built on sand falls, no matter how beautiful it looks. The second bucket is growth. This is where opportunity lives. Higher risk, higher reward. Startups, emerging technology, scalable businesses, new markets. This is the bucket you are drawn to emotionally, and it is also where most people get hurt, because they chase growth before they ever build safety. The rich do the opposite. They enter growth from a position of strength. Not every seed will survive, but a few that do can change everything. Growth without safety is chaos. Growth built on safety becomes leverage. The third bucket is the one most people ignore and later regret: self-investment. Your skills, your health, your knowledge, your relationships. This bucket has no ceiling, because no investment pays more than the one you make in yourself. Markets crash, assets fall, but skills compound. No one can tax your competence or confiscate your mind. A skill you master today can keep paying you for the rest of your life. Now, here's the part most people miss. The danger is not having one bucket. The danger is depending on only one. If you only build safety, you stay stable but slow. If you only chase growth, you stay unstable and stressed. If you ignore yourself, you never rise beyond your current level. Money grows the way a forest grows. Some trees for shade, some for fruit, some for lasting wood. When the storm comes, a few trees may fall, but the forest survives. So ask yourself today, where are your seeds going? Are they protecting you, multiplying for you, or improving who you are? And once your buckets are designed, the next step is to make those seeds work without you. By now, you know how to plant seeds and where to plant them. But there is a hidden limit most people never escape. They are still selling the one thing they can never get more of: their time. That is what the fourth rule is here to break. Get paid for the value you create, not the hours you spend. Think about how most of us were taught to earn. You trade an hour, you get paid for an hour. It feels fair, it feels safe, but it hides a brutal ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day, and you cannot work all of them. So when your income is tied only to your time, your earning power is capped the moment you wake up. You can be the hardest worker in the room and still stay poor simply because you priced yourself by the clock. The rich think in a completely different currency. They get paid for results, for solutions, for value delivered. And value has no ceiling. Let me show you the difference with a simple story. A factory machine breaks down. Production stops. They call in an engineer. They look at it, listen for a moment, then tap one bolt with a small hammer. The machine roars back to life. They charge $10,000. The owner is furious and demands a breakdown. The engineer writes 2 lines. Tapping the bolt, $1. $1 knowing which bolt to tap, $9,999. That is the secret. People do not pay for your time. They pay for what your time can solve. The bigger the problem you solve, the less your hours matter, and the higher your income can climb. So, how do you escape the trap of the clock? You build things that work while you sleep. Create something once and let it serve thousands. A book, a course, a product, a video like this one. You learn skills that are scarce and valuable, the kind people gladly pay a premium for. And eventually, you stop selling only your own hours and start using systems and the time of others. So, your income is no longer chained to your calendar. Here is the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking, how many hours can I work? Start asking, how much value can I create and how many people can I serve? One question keeps you trapped inside a single day. The other sets your income free. Because the moment your earnings are tied to value instead of time, you finally break the ceiling that keeps most people working forever. And that frees you to focus on something far more powerful. In the next rule, earning more from value is a breakthrough. Yet here is a painful truth. It doesn't matter how much you make if you have no idea where it goes. That is why the fifth rule is so simple, yet so quietly transformative. Track every dollar that flows through your life. Most people can tell you exactly how much they earn, but go silent the moment you ask where it all went. Their money behaves like water through open hands. It arrives, it slips away. And at the end of the month, they're left asking the same confused question. Where did it all go? You cannot control what you refuse to look at, and you cannot grow what you never measure. The rich are different, and not because they are cheap. They track because they respect their money. They know every dollar is a soldier, and a good commander always knows where their soldiers are. When you know exactly where your money goes, something powerful happens. The invisible becomes visible. And the moment a leak becomes visible, it can finally be sealed. Because that is the real danger. It is rarely one giant expense that drains you. It is the small, silent leaks you stopped noticing long ago. A forgotten subscription, a daily habit, a fee here, an upgrade there. Each one feels harmless on its own, but added up across a year, they quietly steal money you could have planted into freedom. Imagine just 3 small leaks of $5 a day. That is over $5,000 a year gone without a single decision you can even remember. These are not luxuries. They are leaks. Here is the part most people miss. Tracking is not about restriction. It is not about guilt or denying yourself every small joy. It is about awareness. A budget is not a cage. It is a map. And no one finds freedom by wandering blind. When you see clearly, you stop spending by accident and start spending on purpose. So start today and keep it simple. For the next 30 days, write down every dollar that leaves your hands. Not to judge yourself, but to see yourself. You will be shocked. Most people discover they were never truly underpaid. They were simply unaware. The raise they were chasing was already hiding inside their own spending. Because once you can see your money clearly, you finally hold the power to direct it. And that brings us to a rule that decides whether your money quietly builds your future or slowly builds your cage. Now that you can see your money clearly, you face the test that quietly decides who becomes free and who stays trapped. It is the 6th rule, and it sounds almost too simple. Buy assets before luxuries. Always let what you own pay for what you enjoy. Here is how most people get it backwards. The moment their income rises, their lifestyle rises with it. A bigger car, a nicer watch, a more expensive apartment. They reward themselves first and promise to invest later, but later keeps moving. The rewards keep arriving and the wealth never does. They buy things that look rich while staying quietly poor underneath. The rich flip the entire sequence. They buy the asset first and let the asset buy the luxury. They don't purchase the expensive car with their salary. They build or buy something that produces income and then let that income pay for the car. The lifestyle still arrives. It simply arrives after the asset, not instead of it. Picture 2 people who both want a $30,000 car. The first signs a loan and pays for it out of their salary for the next 5 years. The second buys a small investment that earns enough each month to cover the payment, then lets that asset carry the cost. Same car. One person now works for the car. The other lets the car be paid for by something that works for them. Think of it like the old story of the goose that lays golden eggs. Most people are so hungry for the eggs that they cook the goose on the very first night. They get one good meal and then nothing. The rich protect the goose. They feed it, they grow it. And the rich, they live on the eggs it produces for years. They never confuse the source of wealth with the reward of wealth. So before your next big purchase, pause and ask one honest question. Is this an asset that will feed me or a liability that will eat me? An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability quietly takes it out month after month, often while pretending to be a symbol of success. This is not about denying yourself joy. It is about ordering your decisions with discipline. Enjoy the rewards, but earn them in the right sequence. First the seed, then the harvest. First the asset, then the lifestyle. Do this and luxury becomes a reward you can afford forever instead of a debt that slowly owns you. Quick pause. If even one line so far has changed how you look at money, type that one word again in the comments. Own. Not for the algorithm, but as a reminder to yourself that from today, you choose to own your future instead of renting it. In the introduction, I promised you a rule that explains why the rich are never afraid of debt or taxes. This is it, the seventh rule, and it is where the middle class and the wealthy split apart for good. Master debt and taxes. Instead of fearing them, most people treat both as enemies. Debt is something to escape. Taxes are something to dread. So they spend their whole lives running from two of the most powerful financial tools ever created. The rich don't run. They study the rules and then they use them. Let's start with debt. Most people only know one kind. The kind that buys things that lose value. A loan for a car that is worth less every year. A credit card for a vacation. That is bad debt. It takes money out of your pocket every month and gives you nothing back. But there is another kind the rich understand deeply. Good debt. Debt that buys an asset which pays for itself and then pays you. Borrowing to acquire a property that produces rent or a business that produces profit is not the same as borrowing to impress your neighbors. Let me make this real. I once watched two friends borrow almost the same amount. One financed a flashy car to look successful and years later was still paying for something worth half its price. The other bought a small rental nobody wanted and let the rent slowly repay the loan. Today, that debt is gone and the apartment still pays them every month. One bought a wound, the other a weapon. The tool is not the problem. The hand that holds it is. This is how the rich grow faster than their own savings ever could. They put other people's money to work, buying things that pay them back. Now, taxes. Most people see taxes as punishment. The rich see them as a set of instructions. Tax codes are written to reward certain behaviors. Building businesses, creating jobs, providing housing, investing for the long term. The system quietly punishes those who only trade time for edge. Paycheck and rewards those who own, build, and invest. This is not about cheating. It is about reading the rules of a game you are already playing. The employee earns, gets taxed, and spends what is left. The investor earns, reinvests, and is taxed on what remains. Same system, very different outcome. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. Power belongs to those who understand the rules of the game, not to those who simply hope the game is fair. Money behaves the same way. Pretending these forces don't exist does not protect you. It only leaves you exposed to the people who do understand them. So stop fearing debt and start asking whether it buys you an asset or a liability. Stop resenting taxes and start learning what the system actually rewards. You don't have to love the rules, but the moment you understand them, they stop working against you and slowly begin working for you. And that shift in power leads us straight into the next rule. Once you understand the rules of money, your goal has to change. And this is where most people aim at the wrong target their whole lives. They chase a big number when they should be building a steady stream. That is the eighth rule. Prioritize cash flow over net worth. Ask most people what it means to be rich, and they picture one giant number, a bank balance, a house worth a fortune. But here is the uncomfortable truth. You can look wealthy on paper and still feel trapped every single morning. Picture someone whose money is locked inside the home they live in and accounts they cannot touch for decades. On paper, they look successful, yet almost nothing they own puts cash in their hands today, while their bills arrive like clockwork. Cash flow is different. Cash flow is money that shows up whether you work that month or not. Rent from a property, dividends from stocks, profit from a business that runs without you, royalties from something you created once. Net worth is a photograph. It shows what you are worth in a single frozen moment. Cash flow is a heartbeat. It tells you whether your money is actually alive and feeding you. Here's the number that truly matters, and almost no one calculates it. How much money flows in each month without you lifting a finger? If your monthly bills are $2,000, then $2,000 of passive income is not a small goal. It is the exact price of your freedom. Because the day your assets cover your bills, something quietly historic happens. Work becomes a choice, not a sentence. You no longer wake up because you have to. You wake up because you decide to. That is the real definition of freedom. Not a giant pile of money, but a quiet stream that never stops flowing. So stop asking only, how much am I worth? Start asking the question, the rich never forget. How much do I earn while I sleep? Aim your energy at building assets that pay you again and again, not trophies that only sit and shine. A smaller net worth that produces strong monthly income will set you free far sooner than a huge net worth that produces nothing. Because freedom is not measured by the size or build assets, what you own. It is measured by how long you could stop working and still live with peace. And once your money can sustain you, the next rule asks something far bigger. What will it do long after you are gone? Most people plan their money in days, sometimes in months. The rich plan in decades, and the truly wise plan in generations. That is the ninth rule. Stop thinking only about yourself and start thinking like an ancestor. There is an old proverb that captures this perfectly. A society grows great when the old plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. Most people only plant what they can harvest themselves. They spend their whole lives chasing rewards they can enjoy this year. The rich plant differently. They build assets, businesses, and knowledge designed to outlive them. Things meant to feed people they may never meet. But here is the warning that stops this rule from becoming a fantasy. Money alone does not survive. In fact, it almost never does. Studies of wealthy families found that around 70% lose their wealth by the second generation and about 90% lose it by the third. The first generation builds it, the second spends it, the third inherits nothing but the story of what once was. The fortune evaporates not because the money was too small, but because something far more important was never passed down. And that is the real lesson. What truly lasts is not the money, it is the mindset. The first generation usually has the discipline, the scars, the hard-won wisdom, but they hand their children the wealth without the lessons that created it. They give the harvest, but never teach how to farm. So the children inherit comfort, but not capability. And comfort without capability is a fortune with a countdown. The same pattern repeats in family after family. The grandparents remember the struggle, the parents remember the comfort, and the grandchildren remember only the loss. So if you want to build something that lasts, you must pass on more than money, pass on principles. Teach the people you love how money actually works. Teach them patience, ownership, and the difference between an asset and a liability. Build systems and values strong enough to survive you, not just a balance that anyone can drain. Because real wealth is not measured only in what you accumulate in one lifetime. It is measured in what continues after you are gone. A true legacy is not a pile of money handed to people who never learned to protect it. It is wisdom, character, and capability planted in the next generation. So the tree keeps growing long after you can no longer water it. And that raises one final question, the one the last rule was built to answer. Where should you plant the most important seeds of all? So where do you plant the most important seeds of all? Not in stocks, not in real estate. The final rule answers it clearly. Invest in people, because in the end, your net worth is your true net worth. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a business and build another. But the right relationship can change the entire direction of your life in a single conversation. Almost every great opportunity you will ever receive will not arrive through an advertisement. It will walk in through a person. A mentor who shortens your learning by 10 years. A partner who sees what you cannot. A friend who opens a door you didn't even know existed. One introduction can be worth more than a year of effort. One honest conversation can save you from a mistake that would have cost you everything. Most people misunderstand this rule. They think investing in people means using them, collecting contacts like business cards, taking whatever they can get. But that is not how trust works. Real relationships are built the opposite way. You plant first. You give before you ask. You become genuinely useful, genuinely honest, the kind of person others actually want to help. The givers, the ones who add value without keeping score, almost always end up surrounded by people who quietly want to see them win. And be honest about who surrounds you, because the people closest to you slowly shape who you become. Spend your time with those who only chase quick pleasure, and you will drift in that direction without noticing. Surround yourself with people who build, who think long-term, who hold themselves to a higher standard, and their habits will quietly become yours. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of the people you spend your life beside. So invest in people the way you would invest in any asset that compounds. Show up, keep your word, add value without demanding it back. Build trust slowly and protect it fiercely, because money can buy comfort, but only people can offer opportunity, wisdom, loyalty, and love. And those are the returns no bank account will ever pay you. That is the 10th and final rule. 10 rules, one quiet truth running through all of them. The rich don't just earn differently, they think differently. And now that you have seen all 10, the only question left is what you choose to do with them. So here we are at the end of 10 rules, but really at the beginning of something. Let's bring them together, because together Together they tell one story. Build assets, not just income. Pay yourself first. Design your money into buckets. Get paid for value, not hours. Track every dollar. Buy assets before luxuries. Master debt and taxes instead of fearing them. Prioritize cash flow over net worth. Think in generations. And above all, invest in people. Notice what connects every single one. Not luck, not a huge salary, not some
secret only the wealthy are allowed to know. What connects them is a way of thinking. The poor work for money. The rich build assets and let those assets work for them. That single shift repeated patiently over years is the entire difference between a life of survival and a life of freedom. Remember the farmer from the very beginning holding that bag of seeds. You are holding one too, every single month. You can eat it all today, or you can plant a little again and again until one day the harvest feeds you for the rest of your life. The best time to plant was years ago. The second best time is today. So before you go, do one small thing that makes this real. If this video shifted even one belief about money, hit the like button because it genuinely helps these ideas reach someone who needs them. Then type that one word in the comments: own. Your promise to yourself that from today, you choose to own your future, not rent it. And subscribe because in the next video, we go deeper and you have already come too far to stop. Now plant your first seed today. Your future self is already waiting in its shade.